Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started on time here to make sure we have time to get through all of the material. Thanks for joining us for using forms and Qualtrics surveys in class. That's our title. And how this is going to work is I'm going to start with a little bit of an overview of how we're using Qualtrics in the HIM department. And then Melissa is going to talk about what they're doing down in St. Paul using Qualtrics and Google Forms. Jane Sims in IT, and she's going to talk about Qualtrics as well, some classroom examples. And then Eric Mystery is going to talk about Google Forms. We think he's not here right now, but I think he'll be back, right?
Yes, he's checking some other things at the moment.
Perfect.
Right. If you do have your laptops here, use your grid to log into the room, to the Zoom room for a Zoom experience. Zoom is a great web conferencing application that we introduced in the spring, and what we'd like people to do is use it in the classes. There's so many applications that if you want to get used to it, you don't have to do it right away this session, but if you want to try it in other sessions, that would be great. Okay.
Sweet. So we're going to be recording this session using Zoom as well.
Yep, we are recording now.
So here we go. Welcome. So I'm going to start this off by giving an overview of Qualtrics, the survey software application. Talk a little bit about how we're using it in our department and some potential uses at CSS. And then I'm going to log into Qualtrics and use an example of how you can actually create survey questions pretty easily. For those of you who actually registered for this session by yesterday, a Qualtrics account was created for you, and you may have received an email about that. We hope you wanted it. So if you did get that email, then you'll be able to log in. We can get your computer with you and go on with the demonstration. So what is Qualtrics? I was actually on the vendor search for this about 5 years ago or so, when we went from Question Pro software to Qualtrics. And it was kind of a neat process for me because it gave me an opportunity to actually really weigh the pros and cons of what we had versus what we were going to get. Qualtrics is a really easy to use survey software application. It allows you to do really quick and easy surveys that can either be distributed to a very large group of individuals or a very small group, depending on what your needs are. According to the website, it's funny how marketing works with these sorts of softwares. But obviously you can use it in endless ways. You can track behavior across diverse segments, whatever. The way they brand this is that it's really meant to be a marketing product experience tool, but it has an entire research suite behind it as well, so it can be used for both marketing purposes and for real research. So what's cool about it from my experience? Well, one, it's very easy point-and-click interface to use. It takes about 2 seconds to learn how to use the software, so anyone can build and design a survey. You can create a project on the fly, and you can share those projects, collaborate with them with your colleagues very easily with a click of a button. And so in a way, it's sort of like Google Docs in that sense. There's many different question types and item types that you can choose from. It both has, you can create them very easily yourself. And then it also has a lot of question libraries. So any survey that you create, it saves those questions to a library of your own. But then there's also an entire Qualtrics library that you can borrow validated items from to include in your survey. So if you're looking for kind of some demographic questions that have been utilized in the past that are validated, you can bring those in with a click of a button to help start building up your survey. And what I really like about this is that it has very easy to use logic. So if you want a question to only be shown based on a previous question, you can do that very simply with Qualtrics. You can do it in display logic. So display logic means if you select a specific answer type or an answer within an item, it's not working.
You need to share the screen, the green button.
So this is a good example of why it's important to test out Zoom apparently. So
Green button at the bottom.
The green button.
Desktop.
And then blue button. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so back to the display logic. Qualtrics has two different types of logic built into it. On the one hand, you can use display logic, which means an item will only show to a survey respondent if they select a certain item in a previous question. So it won't even show up. Or you can build a branching logic where if they select this, it'll take you to a different point in the survey and so on and so forth. So with my students, I really have them using display logic. It's really easy. No. And that's an example of display logic. It's pretty cool, right? Okay. It also allows, what's kind of nice about it from my perspective is it allows you really easy to share your surveys. You can go, you can manage your entire survey project within Qualtrics by importing all your contact email addresses directly within the survey, and then you can track who's responding, who's not responding if you want to build your project that way. Or you can actually just get an email link, put it into an email, send it out, or you can post it on the website and send it out that way. So there's many ways you can share your surveys easily. And then you can also do all of your analysis directly within the software. So if you want to simply do some descriptive statistics, it has an entire analytics suite within it. Or you can easily export it in different formats, CSV, SPSS, what have you. So it allows you to manage your data the way you want and then analyze it. So that's what I like about it. So the college has unlimited licenses for Qualtrics. That's the biggest pro of using this software as opposed to others. With Question Pro, I think the college had something like 50 licenses that we had to manage. With Qualtrics, we have unlimited. That's both the faculty, staff, and students. So if you want to have a course where every student gets a Qualtrics account, it's very easy to do that. And how to get access to CSS? Eva. Eva Els is the person. You simply send an email to Eva requesting access with a list of the student's first name, last name, and their email address, and she'll be able to create accounts on the fly very quickly. Her and her team are excellent at this. Usually it happens within the day. I don't know what the guarantee is on that. But typically with my classes, I send an email at the very beginning of the semester and have the accounts created within a couple of days. And then end up using it sometime that semester. All you have to do is make sure you log in with the information she provides to you, and you have to change your password the first time you log in, and then you have access. And then you have to let her know how long do you want the students to have access. Do you want it for the semester? Do you want it for the year? Do you want it for 2 years? And then she just builds that in, and then it expires. Pretty slick. So how do we use it? In our department, we're using it for really 3 different types of use. We use it for administration, departmental administration, built into our curriculum, and then faculty and students are doing research with it. So from the standpoint of administration, we're really using this primarily for accreditation purposes. Our department, we have 3 programs that are accredited by the Council on Health Informatics and Information Management Education, or CAHIM. And for those of you who have accredited programs, you know there's a lot of reporting that you have to do. You have to do reporting on student satisfaction, graduate satisfaction, employer satisfaction, different industry needs in terms of workforce competencies and skills, etc. And we do a variety of surveys all around these different topics that we then report back to our annual accreditation report. We've also done some interesting things with using the survey software to gauge some evaluation around massive open online courses we've been offering through the college. So we're able to both survey the participants in these large courses, but then also ask them about some of their specific interests and needs based upon their experience with our courses and what else they might like to see in future groups. We've used this quite a bit in different grant projects, both for evaluation and also for actually research projects that are part of grants. And then we do a lot of different workshops with our industry partners, and then we're able to use those for evaluations as well. So there's quite a lot of use that we get out of Qualtrics across our department for administrative purposes, mostly around evaluation of something or another. We built into our curriculum as well. We have an undergraduate research course, Applied Research and Health Information Management, and every student in that course is required to design a survey instrument to meet some competencies for accreditation. We used to have them actually complete the survey project as part of their professional practice experience, but we've gone to a more secondary data analysis for that competency now. But they still go through the entire process of designing or developing an IRB proposal, developing a survey instrument to go along with it, up until the point where they would do data collection. So they're getting that research experience in that course, all using Qualtrics. And they actually pilot it out with their student peers in the class, so it works out really well. Within our professional practice experience, our internship class, we also use that for evaluating the students' experience and both asking them about their experience, but also asking from the clinical preceptor's standpoint. So we use Qualtrics there, and then we also use it in our graduate research course as well. And then we've done a lot of research from the faculty and student perspective using Qualtrics, both large and small scale survey projects. In fact, some of our faculty have used it as part of their dissertation work, but we've done a lot of other studies as well, both including students, including industry partners, et cetera. And then our students are opting to use this software for both their undergraduate projects, but also for graduate thesis. It's really easy to use. But there's also, I wouldn't talk about this more, but I think there's a lot of potential use here at the college, especially around marketing assessments, environmental stands, and eventually applications using polling. So I do have a demonstration, but I might wait on that depending on time. Where are we at? So I've logged in. I'll just go through one thing here. I've logged into Qualtrics. And this is what it looks like when you log in. Pretty simple. Here are all of my project names here. But you can simply, to create a project, you just hit the green button here, create project. And what's kind of neat from this is that you can simply type in a project name here to create a new project, or you can build a survey from a copy of an existing survey, or you can go from a library. I had mentioned that before. One nice thing about this is that you can simply use your own library. Like I said, we have a departmental survey library as well, and then we have a Qualtrics library. So if you want to pull in an entire survey from an existing survey, you can do that with a click of those buttons, which can save you a lot of time if you're like us doing an annual survey to your accrediting body every single year. You can just duplicate that and then save it here and then have all of those results separated out rather than cutting and pasting or what have you. So that's kind of handy. If you click on the Qualtrics library, for example, you can see here that they have all of these different surveys listed here by topical area. So you can see that they have all of the products, but then they have customer research, demographics, employee, healthcare research, et cetera. So you have this big bank of questionnaires that you can utilize, where your students can look at what are the pros and cons of using a question worded this way versus another, et cetera. So this is a very handy thing to explore for yourself and also for your class. But let's just create a new survey. I'm going to call it test, and I'm not going to put it into a folder. Then I create the project. So then it pops up here, right? We have the starting of a survey. Here's our default question, is a multiple choice question where we just need to write in a question and then put in some responses here. So that's what it starts out with, it's just a survey. If you look at the design here of the interface, it's broken up by 4 different tabs. We have the survey, which we're on. We have a distributions tab, which basically is what are the ways that we can actually share this survey out with our potential respondents. We have a data and analysis tab. This is where whatever survey you're in, you go here, this will show you what the responses are for every respondent in terms of what the data is. And then we have a reports tab, and this is where you can do all your analysis. It'll give you a template for the report for every single item. You can click through it and you can see what the descriptive stats It also allows you to do some inferential statistics, but it's pretty weak there, in all honesty. So back to the survey. So I said, let's see. This is a question that I wanted to use, right? Which of the following is the most important characteristic for a supervisor? I just took this out of one of the samples here. And then the options are these 5 things. So you can just simply cut and paste things directly in here. And then if you have additional options, you can do it. So here we have the starting of a survey. We're going to do a research project on supervisor characteristics. We cut and paste in the question, and we have these 6 different options. 5 different options. Excuse me. So here's what we have. One nice thing about this is that maybe you don't want it to just be a simple multiple choice, right? You might want this to be a multiple answer selection. So on the right-hand bar here, you have all of the different types of questions and the way you might want to reformat these. So this is what I like most about Qualtrics is this little sidebar here with what it allows you to really have control over the questions that you're developing. So for example, if I say I wanted to add another option type here, I can just click it here and it adds it, and I can just type it in. Or I can say I want to make this a multiple answer, so it changes it from a radio button to a checkbox here. Maybe I don't like the design of this. I want to flip these horizontally, so say space on my questionnaire. I can do that. But maybe I don't even want that question type at all. I just click the green button here in terms of the question type button, and now it provides me an entire list of different question types I can convert this question to without changing anything in my question. So for example, right now I have it as a multiple choice. Maybe what I want is a matrix question. So for example, so now for each one of these characteristics, maybe I want to put this on a scale, from a scale of 1 to 5, for example, how important are these different characteristics for me, for my supervisor? And then I can change those scale points, maybe on a scale of 1 to 5 on a liker type. You know what I mean? So you can change these questions very rapidly. Maybe you don't want it that way. Maybe you want it as a sliding scale. It allows the users to drag this over some meaningful way to measure for rating those characteristics. Maybe you want it side by side, so you can actually, whatever you want to do. It allows you with a click of a button to change the question type and play around with this a little bit in terms of rank ordering. We're having a simple, or going back to a simple multiple choice. I think this is really helpful when you're teaching survey research with students because oftentimes they want to do the most complicated thing possible when they're developing a survey, and it really confuses people. So it allows you to have that conversation about, well, what if you design this question this way or that way? What might be the experience of the end user? How that might impact your data? So, right. So I use this quite a bit in class when they're designing their questionnaires. I give feedback to the students, and then they have a final submission for the concerned launch or IRB project. That's typically how I use this software. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jane. Is it Jane next?
Wasn't that? Well, I learned some great tricks here already. What I would like to do is write out the Qualtrics. Let's see if I can do that here. And share with you how I have used it. This is actually a rubric that Patty Sink shared with me. We worked on it last week. And what she was wanting to do was to try to find a way for students to evaluate each other's presentations. So what you can do is if you have a rubric that you're normally providing feedback to students on, you could have your students do that. Maybe you have a guest speaker, group presentation. Or maybe you want students to also give feedback to each other on their participation in the group. And how we add that into the grades, and then we collect that, and it takes hours and hours to pull that together. Well, you can do this in less than 10 minutes. It's really pretty quick. And once you set it up, then you can just kind of copy it into different groups, or you can copy for different courses or different semesters. So we're going to take a look at her rubric and how it was set up. And then I just ran a test of 20, you can run a test of fake students in there and show you what kind of report we have there. So instructions, my first question type was actually a text type. And so it's still got to put the text there. One of the first two questions that I really add, one is, who are you? And so then I always ask, what is your name? Because I'm going to sort by this, I'm going to filter by this. Second one is, what's the name of the person or the group that you're evaluating? Those are my two sorting questions. Okay? Then I use the matrix to ask some questions. And this is just straight off my rubric that I would normally begin with that. So I'm not going to go into how you create this question. It's pretty standard, following the same process that Ryan gave you. And then here's rating the presenter. And then what did you learn from the presentation? And then what advice would you give? Be honest and kind. So as an instructor, what you can do is you can test it out. You can go to test survey. Has anyone done test survey before? If you click on test survey, I can choose how many responses I want to show up. Okay? So I'm going to just say 20. Just for the sake of having some data to show you. So then now I can go into my reports. So when you're doing a survey like this, for this purpose, you need to begin with the end in mind. How do you want that report to look to your students? So when you're creating your questions, you may have to tweak some of your question formats, and then you might want to tweak how your report looks, and then you can save your report. I have this saved up here as feedback from peers. And so what I did was, if I manage filters, I'm saying your name is not, I'm doing this report for person name 2. I don't want them to evaluate themselves. So I'm making sure that their name is not in there and the name is this person. And so then I save it. Every time I come back in and do this for the next person, I just go back up to this manage filters and I change the name of the person that I'm in. I uncheck that person, and then I put the new person in there. So then, yes?
I have a question. Can Qualtrics within it auto reject outliers, like as part of the analysis? Like say 10 students give somebody a 5 and 1 student gives them a 1, and maybe you don't want to just take the average.
I have not played that extensively with it. It might,
Okay.
but you might have to download your data.
Okay.
I don't know why
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, and question 2, I'm seeing that person 13 gave feedback to name 2. And here I'm seeing that 2 people gave feedback to name 2. There must have been another one up there. Here is what I did was I changed my report format to show the average. Same thing here. And then I've collected all of the comments on here. come back to the single experience. Okay. So then I just click on export to Word document. I don't really want questions 2 and 3 because those are my filtering ones. This never happens. And so then here's my report for that person. Right? I can come in here and I can type in, it catches up to me.
It's launched. You got to press save as. You'll launch.
Oh, okay, I clicked too many times. Just, all right. So I could type in the name here, and then I could save it for that person. I could go in here and edit. Remember, these comments I might want to do some editing before I save it. So then I save it, and then I can just go back to Qualtrics, and I can choose my other person. Okay. So now, if I were to do another report, or change from my report, so that's feedback from here. I'm going to say to others because I might just look at this really quickly because I'm in the third and choose the wrong one. So here it is, just all set up. This is the default report. And so I've got all of this stuff. I've got these bar charts. I've got these tables down here. It's really quite a mess, and I don't want to show all of this, especially this one. This isn't going to tell them anything. So one of the things that I do is both in my filtering questions and in how I want to show them is I can click on the dots there. I can just remove the visualization. I don't need those, and it just is taking a room there. So I can pull that out. I can do the same thing here. And sometimes, again, as it's pulling up, you kind of have to wait and you have to click around here a little bit to find your dots for things to show up. If you do page options, that's not what you want to do because that's just in your export. There it is. So here I can remove this visualization down there. I can come here and maybe I don't want just the mean. This is where I can go to these tables. So there's a simple table. Here's where I would choose my stats. I just want the average and total responses. Again, that's what I would choose there for that specific report. So you can set this up. There's another one. I'm not going to want to download this all the time for my Word document. And then I can go back in here instead of showing all of this individually. I can come down here and do that mean. So you can choose how you want to display that data. And then name and save the report. So there's just quite a few. So there's that. So then I've got my report saved because it's dynamic, and then I can go back in and I can export it. Again, I don't need my 2 filter questions. I have no idea if this person said anything to anybody else. So I don't know what's going to show up. But that is how you can use it to just quickly gather data. And also, if you're doing presentations or guest speaker, it involves the students in the classroom. You give them that link and then ask them to do that there. And right away, in less than 10 minutes, you can have a whole class done. Providing feedback to everybody, and then you can take your time on that. So, any questions on that? Yes?
So, can they do this on their phone?
Yeah, they can take the survey on the phone.
How do you?
You actually don't need to do anything at all on the phone.
So once
It's essentially a web.
they hit the link.
Just like you'd visit any website, whether so you give them usually like a short URL or something, you can say, go to this link to do the survey. You can open on your phone, it'll look properly sized to the phone. If you open it up on a laptop, it'll work properly sized to a laptop.
So when you create a survey, you're doing exactly how it looks like, and that's important. Now, remember I said, start with the end in mind, how you want your report to look. Also, as you're creating a survey, take a look at how it's going to look on that phone. You may want to change how you're doing your question formats so that it should look better, because a lot of people do that. So that's all I have. If you want to log me out and take over the screen, that's fine.
There's another question, Jake.
Yes.
Jane, do you know if the students are doing this in class, like you just said, have a grading rubric and they're grading their peers, do the students also have the ability to see their results, or is that something that the survey originator has to process and give it back to them?
Sure.
You have to share it? Okay. But that can be done?
Yeah. That's kind of what Jane. That was just
Through that whole process, they can't do it in real time. They can go back.
No, because it goes into basically a spreadsheet that you own within your Qualtrics account, so they would never be able to access any of the responses.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you gave it to them.
So Ryan, can you share ownership? If you're doing accreditation surveys and you get hit by a bus tomorrow, do you share that so that Susie also has access so that she can pull the data?
Yeah, so we have I should actually show that. There's a way, it's called Collaborate. And anytime you're working on a project like this, so like with my students, I make them collaborate with me on the service. I can go in there and look at their instruments. And so you basically have to say, who do you want to share it with? You start typing in their last names, and since they have a Qualtrics account, they'll pop up. And then you can define what their user access is. Do you use them view only? Do you want them to have edit rights, etc.? So it's almost exactly like Google Docs.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what I'm here to tell you. It's super easy to use. How many people have used something like SurveyMonkey? Easy, free tool. If you can use SurveyMonkey, this is great. It's no different. I've used it in corporate work for the Star Tribune. I had the I had the task of working with the editorial staff and developing surveys to get subscriber and reader feedback.
I'm seeing your screen if you are.
Oh, okay.
Pull something up.
Sorry. And it was very easy to use. So I could share that link of a test survey and have it go out to 5 editorial members, and they could give me feedback, and I could tweak that survey. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to show you some implementation tactics here. So I've used it in the classroom too. I partnered with another faculty member, and I'm just showing you a link to a survey we created. Okay, so I teach in an MBA program on ground, and I teach online undergrad. And this was used for an online graduate class, and we wanted to survey the students to collect data that we could use and have them analyze in class. So this is a look at a survey here, just a really simple one that we created to collect data and have them use that data inside the classroom. So again, it's just what Ryan was doing, the cut and paste, really easy to put that together. It was very easy for us to collaborate on that and get it out to the students in the classroom. Just by a link, they would click on the link, in the classroom, fill that out, then we collect the data and disperse that to the students. I also use this as kind of a midpoint survey for my students to say, okay, how's this class going? What would you like to see different? And kind of gauging that. It's anonymous, so you can set it up inside the tool so that it is that way. Now, the response rate is not going to be as high as if you pass out the paper in class and have them turn it in, not write their name on it. I think there's still a little bit of a trust factor I've experienced, so I just wanted to point that out. But it can be helpful in guiding you. It is kind of like a self-marketing tool, analysis of how I'm doing, how the class is being perceived, and it helps me to adjust things. I just wanted to show you one thing around Google Forms. This isn't super pretty, but there we go. But I wanted to show you something cool that our campus manager did in St. Paul that really helped the workflow for all of us on the campus. We had a welcome night in St. Paul, I don't know if you can read this super well, on August 23rd. So we invited the entire campus, all the programs, a couple hundred students, and an email went out to the students, and this was the RSVP link. So here we go, just kind of real simple Google form. Please RSVP, yes I plan, no I can't, name academic program. Submit, that's all they had to do to RSVP. That sounds like a really simple thing, right? Nothing too crazy here. This is what we got. And I was able to get that data file, couldn't change anything on it, but get the data file and see who all my students are that are showing up for my orientation night. And this went out across all the programs, so we could easily get up-to-date info by clicking and seeing who's going to attend. So these things are really easy tools to use that can help across all the things that you're doing, so you don't have to think about it as a huge research study that you have to do, but something that can be a tool to help you with your work. So that's all I had to share. It's just a couple of things.
And you can stay logged in. I'm just gonna. So I'm also going to be talking about Google Forms because it is my favorite thing in the world. And normally this presentation takes about 40 minutes, but we're going to cram as much as we can into the admin. Let's get that. So just move this out of the way. If I minimize that, is that fine? So why forms, and actually why quizzing stuff like this in general, it's really important to have data. And the more we know about our students, the more we know, the more we can do, just in general. And forms and Qualtrics are both very easy ways to get a lot of data from your students, to know about, okay, how many of my students have laptops or tablets or phones. That can change the equation in your classroom. If you go in knowing that kind of thing, you can tell a lot. If you want to know what's my students' backgrounds, a lot of the classes that I've started to work with are actually doing a form like this at the beginning of the class, just to get pulse on where my students come from. Another really cool thing is forms and stuff like this can be used to flip the classroom. You can embed video content into any of them, and then use quizzing questions to actually see if your students have watched the video or done the reading before you come to class. And that way, when it's time for discussion, when it's time to talk about the stuff you read, or PowerPoint you were supposed to look through, you can look at the quiz responses and immediately tell, yes, we got all these areas. No, we need to review X, Y, Z, and why A, B, and C too. You can also track progress throughout the term. So maybe doing the same quiz a few times during the term, you can track by student okay, we're seeing improvement across the students, they're staying the same. And you can also do it if you've got multiple sections of the same course. If you want to try something different in one of your sections, doing the same form is a really good way to see, okay, is what I'm doing effective? Is it having no effect? Is it having a detriment? And as we want to, you know, push the limits, experiment a little bit, this is a really, really good way to do that. And like we said with Qualtrics and everything else, having the students doing something is a really, really good thing to keep engagement high. Because if they have to, you know, be filling in a form during the class, that means they can't be, you know, watching YouTube, browsing Facebook, the rest of the things that we worry about sometimes with students on their computers or phones. And I'm going to actually send this out on the website, so I'm going to fly through a bunch of these slides that have a bunch of useful information on them, and the full normal narration is on big slide notes. So we're going to skip a lot of this, but it's all super useful. Google Forms is incredible. So Google Forms in a minute. Basically, when you open Google Forms and you all have access because we're all on Google accounts, really, really easy to use. This green area is where you start building your questions. You should press this little sidebar, kind of like Qualtrics. That's where you do stuff. You can view and sort your responses just by clicking inside that blue box. And that red box there is where all the other magic happens. For doing settings, you can restrict your forms to only be accessed by St. Scholastica people. You can automatically collect their emails. You can automatically have it send them back their own responses. For everyone who filled in the Google form to sign up for the conference, you probably got an email back. I hope you got an email back that said, you know, here's what you said, here's what you signed up for, and that was just one click of a button in Google Forms. You can also embed it directly in an email, which is nice, and you can use that link to do other things such as tracking how many people actually clicked on the link. So I can tell, okay, we had a lot more people click on the sign up link than actually signed up, which is kind of some interesting metrics to see. So useful tools in Google Forms. There's a bunch of add-ons, which basically means that Google Forms can talk to Google Docs, it can talk to Google Sheets, it can talk to a lot of things. We use this to generate for the question management book certificate that they can print out and actually show that they completed the course after they completed the end of the course evaluation. So we managed to kill two birds with one stone of getting a full evaluation from almost every single person that took the course, and they got a certificate that showed they actually completed the course. So that was really nice, and that did go out. We had Blackboard set to not send them that link until they completed everything for the course. So you can also have it generate a preset kind of Google form. So if you have your students a preset Google Doc, so you can actually have all the responses. Normally exports to kind of a spreadsheet, but you just click on something, you have a pre-formatted Google Doc that you can make the responses look really, really nice. So for evaluations, instead of hand doing every single Google Doc or Word document, you fill in a survey, it exports a set of PDFs, and you can automatically have it send it to them just by filling in their email. So all sorts of really, really handy stuff. Add-ons are amazing, and I can talk at length to any of you about them at any other point. This is what it looks like, kind of your typical app store. If you do end up deciding to look at this on your own, Form Publisher is one of the greatest things ever created. I would highly recommend doing that. You just click on the Look Free button, and it adds up. That's the one that will generate the Google Docs and Google Slides and Google Sheets.
Where do you find the add-on?
So in that top right bar, if you click on those three dots, and that's a Google tip in general, if you see three dots anywhere in Google, click on it, because there's something hidden there that's useful. They hide everything good behind three dots. And then the add-on's just right there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So these are just some other useful ones. Doc Appender is another really useful one. That will let you add responses from a single form to the end of a single document. So if you have 30 or 40 people filling out the same form, and you want to have everyone's responses on that same Google Doc, that's your tool. Form Publisher will generate one document per response. And form notifications will kind of harvest email addresses and send people a more detailed email. We use the built-in Google thing, and that's what we got with the form responses. So it also will allow you to use branching, which is really, really, really useful for certain things. Like if you've got, I actually use it to do adaptive learning and adaptive quizzes, and I'll have a quick example of that. You can also use it to kind of condense forms. So, you know, if you need to collect data on, say, food restrictions for lunch, and you've got 5 or 6 questions that you want to do the data, if they say no food restrictions, it'll just skip all those questions. It's also kind of fun for doing a choose your own adventure kind of style. So instead of turn to page 87, it's, you know, just press next and it'll take them to how to branch it. And that's really, really straightforward to do. This is what it kind of looks like. So you've got a multiple choice question. Again, we clicked on the 3 dots that are in the corner right below the word show there. If you click go to section based on answer, it'll just pop to whatever section you do. And I'll actually have you all run through that in a little minute. You can also do quizzes, and it'll auto-grade multiple choice, checkboxes, and drop-down questions. So anything that you can do for multiple choice style, you can have your students fill in this form, and you will have a fully graded spreadsheet without having to do a thing, which is really, really useful. And that spreadsheet can then be exported to standard Excel, CSV, so you can actually pull that into Blackboard pretty easily, which is nice, or wherever you do your grading. You can also kind of speed up manual grading on short answer. Because it exports to a spreadsheet, what I do is I do conditional formatting, just like in Excel. You say, if it has these words, turn the question green. And that way I can kind of look down at the responses and I can see, okay, all these responses are green except for these 2 or 3 people. And that makes short answer, I don't have to read the entire thing. I can just say, they got the key points that I was actually looking for. You can also delay the feedback release, so you can have every student take the quiz and then release their answers maybe an hour before class. And that way you can tell, okay, who's the stragglers, who's like, they're not just filling it out together and getting it right, or one person got all the answers and sent it to the rest of the class. You can hold the answers until you want to. Answer summaries. So this is, once you've filled in a form, this is just kind of the short answer thing you'll see. And like I said before, when we're in Google Forms, just right here, you'll see questions. That's where all the questions are built. I click on responses, and I can see a summary or individual. And this is what a checkbox question looks like in the question sign. And when this is what the answers look like. So it'll automatically create nice, tables, graphs, etc., depending on the data. This is one of my favorite questions. I did live in Wisconsin for a year. There's no wrong answers here. Yeah. Surprisingly, gold cheese was the overall winner, but I think that's just because it had multiple choices because they're all correct. But you can pretty quickly see it. We actually use this for the survey for this kind of style to figure out which rooms we're going to put which sessions in. So if it's a bigger session, we could tell we didn't have one of the big rooms. So really, really handy. You can do the same sort of, Likert scale, matrix grids. I kind of like to think of Google Forms as, if I needed something quick and dirty and fast, Google Forms is great. And Qualtrics is a little more powerful, a little more customizable. But honestly, I use both practically every single week. So I wouldn't say it's one or the other. It's what's the best tool for the task. And they're well worth investing time because every hour I put in Google Forms is saving probably 30 or 40 hours. And this is what those kind of look like at the end. So you can get a lot of good data out of asking good questions. And we can definitely talk to our instructional designers are really good at figuring out how to ask the right questions. And they've seen a lot of surveys. So if you're like, I want to ask this and get this out of my class, just come talk to us. And we're able to help them. The other really handy thing is if, say, we had 131 responses for the session this time, which is way too much to kind of handle on a summary grid. You click on that little green button right there, automatically generates a spreadsheet that you can sort, you can file, you can handle just like any other spreadsheet, which is really, really handy. So that's what this, sample survey turned into. So I could, easily tell which people like grilled cheese and tell them which also like cheese curds, that kind of thing. Extra settings in Google Forms. This is again in that top right corner. Definitely poke around. You can limit your responses. I generally have this box right here. This is an important one to uncheck. It says respondents can edit after they submit. Turn that off because it's just going to cause you trouble down the road. I don't know why it's default enabled, but it's definitely handy. Let's get that. You can change the color of the form. You can add nice, pretty documents. And as far as sending the form, there's all these different options. Usually send the link because that's the easiest way to do it. And then, like I said, we can generate class notes by having people fill in questions. So you can have kind of a built-in notes space. If you're asking the questions you want them to get in class, you can see all of their responses. You can see if everyone's on the right track, and they get a copy of their own responses, which is really, really handy. Formatted documents, like we talked about before, for generating, certificates or feedback reports, any sort of thing. Flipped classroom, put a video, add some questions, or put some content for the reading, leave some questions, and you can tell before you skip class what you need to focus on. Class participation in general, you can have people fill in, like, okay, I taught 3 times today, and have them fill in a form of what they did in class today. And that way you can kind of track how class is going, all sorts of things. This is especially useful for certain classes like lab attendance, that kind of thing. Adaptive learning. I think we've got time for a quick thing here. Got that. No, let's see here. So I'm gonna actually pop out real quick. So. So this is something we actually built for some math teachers this summer at one of the conferences. So I'll put my name in, and the question is to solve this problem. So 9 divided by 3 times 2 plus 1, is it 9, 1, or 3? Anyone think it's 9? Anyone think it's 1? Anyone think it's 3? I saw one hand for 1. And we're just going to click on next. And looks like we got it wrong. So now it tells us, okay, the answer is 9. What order should we solve the problem? So we use kind of a branching response for that. So wrong answer, send us back to the question, a little bit more info, a little bit more guidance. If we had gotten that right, put my name in there. We got it right, then we also have to explain why might someone have answered 1. So even if they get it right, you have to do a little bit more thinking, a little bit more explaining. That kind of thing is really easy to build. This took me maybe 4 minutes to build. Finding the question was a little bit harder. That took me about 15, 20 minutes to think of a good question. So the tech is secondary. Good questions, good thinking about how you want to feel the data is the paramount thing. And that's basically it for Google Forms, but definitely check out both of these tools. They're both super powerful and good questions.
Could you go back to the slide about taking notes in class and say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So generally for this, like what I would do is I would create, so I was a history major, and one of my classes was on the Constitution. So if we're talking about the writing of the Constitution, and that's what the whole class lecture is about, I would have kind of a fill in the blank or short answer, paragraph kind of things that say, write some notes about here. And I always put, if I'm building this, there's kind of a paragraph style question. They'll say, other notes, so they don't have to have multiple different places where they're keeping notes. So then they fill in this form that has, the kind of questions that I want answered from this class to make sure these are what you should be focusing on. Because if you got an hour's worth of content, they're not going to be able to get it all. And then what's cool is when they press submit, they'll get a copy of their notes sent to them in their email, so they can't lose them, because I lost how many pages of notes just by virtue of notebooks disappearing or getting, weighed on, that kind of thing. The instructor then also gets a copy of the responses, and like we said before, if you use a spreadsheet and you use like kind of like keywords conditional formatting, so I can say, okay, I want to look for Madison, I want to look for Philadelphia, I want to look for these certain words. And if those words are in this particular question, turn it green. If it's missing it, turn it red. That way at a glance I can see, okay, student A, green across the board. Student B, missed a few spots, and I might be able to target, say, that student B and say, hey, you should maybe read up on this, this, or this. Or if everyone in the class missed a certain section, I can say, we're going to re-go over that because that's an important thing. So you're not just delivering the content, you're getting it right back out too. So you can tell what's sticking.
Is this stuff on atomic learning?
That's a good question. And also, atomic learning is now called Who Knew It? HOONINUIT. Yeah. And that'll all be updated in the service catalog really soon. This kind of stuff is generally in that. I also highly recommend, if you search for Google Education Training, they actually have a whole set of really, really, really well done training targeted towards educators and how you can use Google in the classroom. And it's useful, it's incredibly well designed. I'd recommend that, and if you actually do the training, you can get Google certification, which is just another nice thing to have. So,
If you are interested in exploring more about how to use it in the classroom, whether it's Google Forms or Qualtrics, maybe we could get a learning group together. Mention just something in the evaluation form that you're interested in, so then we can get emails out to you, or we'll post a notice for anybody else who couldn't be here. I know this is just a short amount of time to just show what we can do and start getting us thinking. The tools are powerful, but there's more power in how we use it in our classrooms. And so that having us discuss things and sharing how we're doing different things or working together, I think could be very useful for all of us. Any thoughts for me?
That's a great idea.
Ryan, Melissa, any last thoughts?
No, just like Eric said about Google's educational information out there, Qualtrics also has something called Qualtrics University built into their website. So it has really good information about survey design, survey data analysis. It's really easy to use. And, you actually can export specific web links to very specific content. So you can actually build it in your classrooms, your like workbooks, very easy, so students can use it as well. So it's really good information.
yeah, this is probably the most time-saving software you'll ever use. Really putting an hour into learning it will save you time down the road. Anywhere where you've had, okay, I've got a stack of paper, why am I dealing with this? That does it. And it also, as soon as you send it, these all work well on phones, it all works well on mobile devices. So you don't have to worry about that. The software's done all the work for that, which is really nice.
Yeah, think about how to bring that technology into the classroom. So if you're meeting in person, it doesn't mean that you can't have bits and pieces of this happening at the same time. So sometimes I think if you're online, you think, okay, everything's just fully digital, but if you're in the classroom, you forget that you have all those tools and information.
And it's great for your students to learn how to do these things. So as you're using them in the classroom, talk with them about how you're doing it and why. Okay? Well, thank you for coming. We've got more refreshments out in the registration area, and we'll see you in the next Zoom.
Thank you. So this is all the way back to the 101. All right.